Well, let's put what we've just heard to our guests, Shlomo Ben Ami, Daud Abdullah and Ali Abunimah. Dr. Abdullah, you were talking earlier about this somehow legitimizing the settlement projects. I mean,
yes.
Zero consultation with the Palestinian people.
Yes.
What do you make of what you've just seen?
Well, we have to acknowledge something initially here, that the territories that are being swapped or exchanged are in fact stolen land. It is not to say that this land was owned by the Israelis. These were lands taken by force, which are illegal in international law. You don't take land by force and then you seek to justify this. Now, what is happening here, and Israel has done this consistently for decades, it would take a large piece of land and then give the Palestinians a small piece and retain the larger amount of it with the hope that the Palestinians forfeit their right to the remainder of the land. And this is exactly what we see in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. But there is a double-edged side to this, and that is while Israel gets the opportunity to settle its own people on the land, it is creating a condition where Palestinians will be evicted. So if we settle for the wall, we will legitimize the wall, which the International Court of Justice has deemed illegal and should be dismantled. What we have is a license, as it were, to expel 125,000 Palestinians from Jerusalem. That is to say, through the withdrawal of what is called the ID papers. So, in effect, the Palestinian Authority is contributing through these negotiations, to two things: to a territorial change, but also to a demographic change within Jerusalem particularly.
Shlomo Ben Ami, do you counter that? First of all, put the Israeli point of view. We talked about land being gained illegally. That's not how Israel sees it, is it? Or is it? Is that what Israel is doing? It's building these settlements on the land so that there's no way that it's going to be given back. It's impossible.
There is no doubt that settlements like Ma'ale Adumim and Ariel makes the problem of contiguity, the question of contiguity of the Palestinian state, something that is very, very difficult to imagine. And therefore, I understand the position of the Palestinians both about Ariel and about Ma'ale Adumim. The difference that I see in this paper as compared to the time when we negotiated is the seriousness with which the Palestinians, for the first time, and they admit that, approach the question of swaps of land, and they come after having done their homework in an extraordinarily serious way and propose concrete ideas that in a way surprised the Israeli side in these negotiations. They have never done that before. They have clear ideas as to what are the settlements that should stay, what kind of land should be swapped, where is the swapped area on the Israeli side of the border, and therefore I think they put a package that has sense, and the Israeli side is clearly taken aback by the seriousness of the Palestinian position. They speak about 60% of the settlers that might stay. The position of Clinton was 80%, so the Palestinian position in a way erodes the Clinton peace parameters, and therefore the Israelis might have seen that as a retreat from positions that Israel held in the past. There is one issue that perhaps should be underlined here when it comes to the question of territory. The Israelis, when they spoke and convinced the American side of the need to have blocks of settlement adjacent to the Green Line, they meant changing in a substantial way the 67 borders, broadening the width of the State of Israel. The Palestinian position in Taba, when I was the chief negotiator, and in these papers, didn't change. They continue to reject the concept of blocks of settlements, and they only speak about isolated settlements that should be linked separately to the Green Line. So they have been very serious in preparing the map for the first time, but the fundamental position was the same.
Tzipi Livni, Foreign Minister, back in 2007, according to the papers on the 13th of November, admitted that it was the policy of previous Israeli governments to keep building settlements on Palestinian land so that it becomes impossible to create a state that includes that land. She said that it wasn't her government's policy at the time in 2007. Do you think it's the current government's policy?
Well, I'm not sure they are creating new settlements, the new government. They might be expanding existing settlements, but to my knowledge, they are not creating new settlements. You have illegal outposts. Of course, I mean, you can claim, and I would second you if you claim that internationally speaking, the settlements are not legal, all of them. But there is this concept of illegal outposts that the roadmap calls for their dismantling, and they haven't been dismantled. Israel hasn't dismantled even one illegal outpost. So these outposts are creating facts on the ground that the Israeli government needs to dismantle.
I know that both of you gentlemen are itching to come back here. We'll get back to you in just a moment, I promise you. But first of all, it might be fairly hard to imagine that a key issue in these negotiations was actually addressed with a sketch on a napkin. You might have heard Clayton referring to it a few moments ago in his report, but that's exactly how Israel's land proposals were first presented to the PA. Just one of the startling details revealed by the cache of secret documents. Now, we asked the chief Palestinian negotiator, Saeb Erekat, about that particular episode a few weeks ago.
He showed him a map. Prime Minister almost showed Abu Mazen a map. He did not give him a map. He showed him the map. And Mazen had to draw it with his own hands.
The napkin map.
Yeah.
Where's that map today?
I think it's with Abu Mazen. I think he showed it once with for President Bush.
He showed him the actual napkin it was drawn on.
Yeah, he showed him his own drawings, but we took it in my department and made a projected map on what his offer.
Ali Abunimah, what do you make of that?
Well, what is so characteristic of the Israeli tactics, and you see this really a pattern repeated throughout the documents if you study them closely, is the Israelis never tell you what their position is. They always want deniability. So they say, well, we'll show you a map, but you can't take a copy. Why is that? I think we need to have a look at the big picture. It's because the Israelis never want to show where their bottom line is, because they keep building, they keep expanding the settlements. Whatever exists today in terms of settlements is the new Israeli bottom line. And the catastrophic blunder that the Palestinians made in these negotiations, I mean, Saeb Erekat, who we just saw, calls himself chief negotiator and has had 2 decades of experience negotiating. Well, at the time, the Palestinian Authority presented this map in which they were basically willing to concede virtually all the settlements in and around occupied Jerusalem. The Israelis were saying, we will not talk about Jerusalem. And in fact, there had been a government decision in order to keep the Israeli coalition together that there would be no negotiations on Jerusalem. So you go in to the Israelis and you tell them, we know you're not going to talk about this, but here's our bottom line. And what that tells the Israelis, you know, I mean, the Israelis say, and Tzipi Livni says very clearly, well, thank you, but that's not enough for us. But what it tells the Israelis is here are the areas the Palestinians don't mind us building, and that's exactly what Israel did.
Shlomo Ben Ami, respond to that. I mean, what does it say about trust for a start?
No, I tend to agree to this description. I think that even in our time, I was very impressed by the readiness of the Palestinians to consider Israeli sovereignty on neighborhoods that were built in East Jerusalem. And of course, even when you did not have an agreement, the Israelis continue to build in these neighborhoods to this very day. But again, the problem is that we did not reach an agreement, and what was not agreed remains not agreed. And this is why Israeli governments continue to build in these areas, assuming that they are going to be part of the State of Israel in any future negotiation.
But the fact that Abu Mazen had to draw this on
well, yes,
a napkin.
the reason Israelis will tell you, and that was my understanding always, is that you don't give a map not because you want to build later on, or it's not a trick really. I mean, it's not willing to turn this position into the launching of the next round of negotiations. I mean, the Palestinian position has always been to start negotiations from where they ended, and the Israeli side was not of that position. So traditionally,
why? What do you mean? We go back to the beginning each time we start negotiating?
Well, they want to start from where the last bulldozer started building a settlement. That is the Israeli position, is the negotiations begin from where the last Israeli settlement, from where the last land confiscation
I am of the view
built.
that one does not have to invent the wheel with every Israeli government. But the real reason was that from the Israeli side, sometimes you saw that the Palestinian position was not to strike the deal so that the next round of negotiations will again start from an advanced point, and Israel will be required to make more compromises. That was the logic. You might not accept it. The Palestinians might reject it. That's okay. But that was the logic. The logic was not to trick the Palestinians and create, to outsmart and say, okay, we are not going to give you the exact map, and tomorrow we are going to build, so we will start from there. That was never the intention.
Gentlemen, we'll continue our discussion in just a moment. But